Here we are, fresh off our TV debut.
We're reality stars.
You look good on TV.
You look good on TV too.
I don't know. I think the camera adds 50 pounds.
Just 10. Yeah, you're fine.
I did. But for those of you who don't know, we recently did an episode, and you can find the link in the liner notes below. We were on a television show. Tell them.
Yeah, it was for the network A&E. It was called New House, No Debt. And they followed us around to 2 different cities, 2 of our favorites. And yeah, and it was really fun. So we're here to talk a little bit about that because we're hot off of being reality stars.
That's right.
And kind of talk about how that show ended and what this episode is all about, which is
Athens, Georgia. We have a lot to report. So without further ado, let's roll.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hey listeners, ever wonder what it would be like to blow up your comfort zone at the tender age of 50? Well, we did just that. When our last kid went off to college, we hit the road in search of a new hometown. Now we bounce from city to city and bring you along for the ride. This is the Skip Town All-Stars podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Skip Town All-Stars Travel Podcast. We are here at the Podcast Doctor Studios in Orlando, Florida. And before we get into too much of the show, we want to remind you to like and subscribe. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We could always use a review, a like, a thumbs up, a comment. Do it. Find us on YouTube as well. That's the pitch. So how are you?
I'm doing fine. We have Phil in the studio with us today, and we are so happy that he's here. We're happy to be here. Hi, Phil.
Hey, Phil.
I am in the presence of superstars. Oh, my goodness. I should have brought you guys some flowers. I should have rolled out the red carpet. Oh, my goodness. Can I please have your autograph?
You're in the presence of pseudo stars.
Oh.
I don't know, Phil. You might have to go through my assistant next time we speak.
Oh, all right.
It's already going to your head.
Totally.
Okay, so let's tee it up. Why don't you tell everybody how this came to be?
How Athens, Georgia came to be?
Well, let's talk about the TV show first for those who missed our episode the other day.
Okay, so we did a live party with our listeners for the premiere of our episode on New House, No Debt. And if you missed that, I'm just going to give you a little recap. The show came about because one of our listeners knows a producer, and they were just like having a random conversation about what the producer was doing for work. And she was talking about a show that she was starting to produce where people sold their houses in big cities and decided to find a new house that would be, cheaper than the city they left. And
should be a podcast.
Funny you say that, because the listener said to the producer, I am listening to this podcast, and these 2 people did just that. So then the producer asked about it, I guess checked it out, then reached out to us.
That's right.
And so gave us a call and asked us if we would all be interested in doing what we do on the podcast, but in front of the cameras. So we actually went through like some levels of approval. It wasn't like they liked us right away. I mean, we had to go through casting and everything else.
Yeah, it was a weeks long process. I mean, we thought it was dead at some point, and we weren't even really thinking about it. And then they would come back to us and ask us for one more thing.
Yeah.
One more photo, one more question.
I know. I remember at one point the casting director had asked, she asked me for several things. They want us to do a video, which we actually have, like our intro video that I had to send to the showrunner. And I still have that. And so I remember when she asked us about that video, I want you to put something together, about like what you guys are doing. And I said to her, my reply, I'll never forget, in my email was, go to my YouTube. And then you said to me, because you know television, you go, you can't send that. And I go, why? My YouTube is all about us. Like, our YouTube is all about us. Like, why do I need to do this video? And you're like, no, it has to go to the network. They want something that's more personal. And I said,
they're not going to be clicking a bunch of links. It has to be a self-contained clip.
We have a trailer on our YouTube, which is all about us. I think that was sufficient.
It wasn't. They were looking for a casting clip, and that's what we gave them. And that's how we ended up on the show. Thanks, Claire, by the way, our listener, Claire.
Yes, thank you, Claire.
Wait. Explain that real quick. So they wanted a video of the 2 of you, but not like what you already have produced.
We have 100 of those. You know that.
Yeah.
Like, we have 100, like, hi, I'm Denise. This is James. Yeah. We sold our home, da-da-da. No, they didn't want that. They wanted something the same but different.
Well,
Literally
not only
the
that,
same but different.
They wanted something in the same folder as all the other couples who were sending in Zoom videos who don't have a podcast, who don't do this stuff on YouTube. So literally they just wanted a clip of us on Zoom recording ourselves and just saying who we are, what we did, when we left LA, all that jazz. And they throw them into a big bin, and a network exec literally clicks on each one, and within 4 seconds they know whether or not they're interested in casting you. Okay. So if you have any aberration or fancy graphics at the top or whatever, you're actually amplifying your chance of getting crushed right out of the gate.
I was so annoyed. I'm not going to lie. Like, I stomped my feet. I sat in front of my computer and I hit record on the Zoom. Hi, I'm Denise.
And I'm James. We are the hosts of the Skiptown All-Stars travel podcast.
That is us. We ended up selling our home and all of our belongings in Los Angeles. We basically skipped town to find our forever home. So we travel throughout the country in search of a new hometown.
It's exactly everything you can imagine, from mishaps along the way, things happening on the road. Different towns strike us in different ways. We're pretty honest about it everywhere we go, but we really have had the time of our lives the last couple years, and we have found some really amazing towns in the United States that we never would have visited had we not embarked upon this journey.
It's true. And then along the way, we try to live like locals, because we feel like, how can you get to know a place if you're not living like a local? So sometimes that means staying for a long period of time in an Airbnb. Other times it could be a hotel room. We kind of decide when we pull up what is going to accommodate us best for the amount of time we're staying in this area.
And so far, we've actually had some good luck with the places where we've decided to stay for a month or so. And just actually live in the fabric of that community and try to basically pretend we're cosplaying as locals, if you will. And I got to say, it's been a fantastic ride. So we did the show, and they asked us in the process, what are your 2 favorite cities? And we had just gotten out of Guilford, Connecticut, decided it wasn't happening for us. We mentioned Guilford to them, and they were like, okay, cool. And we also mentioned Covington, Kentucky. And then somewhere in the conversation, we said, but you know, our Camelot has always been Savannah, Georgia. And they're like, oh, well, that totally makes sense. We're not going to Savannah, Georgia with any other couples. So Savannah and Covington rose to the top quickly.
Yeah. And so it was really fun. I mean, we didn't know what to expect. And in the process, what ended up happening was, we met a real estate agent in Covington, and I kept in touch with her, and her and I were texting because there was actually something I was interested in. So then we had a family vacation in July.
We did.
So we shot the show in June. This is how television works.
Greer episode, Greer, South Carolina, episode 106. I still remember that.
So we shot our television episode with A&E in June, and how television works is that you shoot in 1 month and it doesn't get aired until months later. So we shot it in June, had our family vacation in July, and this episode airs in September. So between July and September, we ended up stumbling upon the cutest town. And it's called Athens, Georgia.
Yeah.
It is like, I literally cannot believe I'm having this episode right now, recording it with you about what we're going to talk about. Because we originally had planned on going to Athens, Georgia at least twice. So I'm bringing this up because Athens, Georgia was never truly a possibility for us. We were just going to go to Athens, Georgia to visit it because it's a very Gen X city, meaning when we were growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, it was a hub for music. Very popular bands came out of there.
Yep.
R.E.M.
R.E.M. Okay, I know who that is.
B-52s.
I know who they are. Okay, this is a good test. I know R.E.M. I know B-52s.
Throw one out.
Danger Mouse came out much later, but Danger Mouse is...
Don't know who Danger Mouse is.
Widespread Panic.
Widespread Panic? No.
Nope.
Okay.
Was that a punk band?
They're kind of like, what are they? They're like a jam band.
Yeah, they're like a Grateful Dead.
They're like
kinda.
a Fish or a Grateful Dead type band, I think.
Okay.
Drive-By Truckers.
Nope.
Country, not in your wheelhouse.
Who else?
Low Down and Duddy. Do you know them? No?
The rappers?
Two rappers?
Hold
Go
on.
down and Duddy.
He emphasized it like they rap. You should know.
Yep, exactly.
That's how you said that.
Yep.
I'm trying to I knew you weren't going to get drive-by truckers.
What's that word when police do that? Like when
Bro,
they,
you just profiled me.
There you go.
Totally
Thank you. He just profiled you.
I was profiling you.
So we were going to do an episode in Athens of like, where are they now? Literally, like just go explore Athens for a couple of days and come back in the studio with Phil, tell him all about indie rock from the late 80s, early 90s, and do a whole episode about where are they now with Athens.
Right.
And then it took a turn. So why don't you explain what happened?
So we rolled up into town and we were just excited to do the Athens Walk of Fame. So it's not just a few alternative bands from the 90s and a couple of rappers Phil has never heard of. And but there are a lot, I mean, historically, there are a lot of blues acts. There are several bands and performers that we did not know on the Walk of Fame.
Vic Chestnut was one of them.
Vic Chestnut's one of them. Had never known about Vic Chestnut. The Elephant Six Recording Company. You did a deep dive on them.
They're a collective. They're like a group of bands.
A bunch of lo-fi kids that have been experimenting with that music for
a while,
a long time.
Yeah.
So at any rate, though, it was just one of those places when I was in college. We were both in college at the same time. And before Seattle became the gargantuan city where everybody wanted to move, Athens was that place.
It's true. It's 100%. And we had tried getting there twice before this visit. And it just kind of got ixnayed. Like, I remember one time we were on our way to South Carolina. We're like, okay, we're definitely going to do a Where Are They Now episode in Athens. But then, like, the time didn't work for us. Like, we just wanted to get to South Carolina. Then we were going to do it on our way back from Tennessee, and we couldn't do that. We couldn't do it at that point. So this time, we were just like, all right, we're on the road, and we wanted to do Athens. What the heck?
Yeah. So we knew we were going to Chattanooga, episode 108, and we decided we were going to stop in Athens finally on the way back from Chattanooga. So we did, and let's get to your original question was we rolled up into town, but we didn't exactly roll up into town. We were washed into town. It was pouring cats and dogs. The rain was so thick we had to pull over at one point near Lake Lanier, which is a future episode. We'll do another one about Lake Lanier, Georgia at some point. Great resort town. We couldn't see it when we were there because the rain was so heavy, just sheets and sheets of rain. We pulled up into Athens, Georgia. We were starving in typical Skip Town style, and we stopped at The Place.
Yeah, that's the restaurant. And we get there at 9 o'clock at night.
The name of the restaurant is The Place.
It's called The Place?
The Place.
That is the best name.
It is the best name.
And it was really good food. We only had 15 minutes to order. We got there at like 9. Kitchen closes at 9:30. They close at 10.
Oh, they're spitting your food.
You know what? I did say to them, are they going to be mad that we're here? And the guy was like, no, it's fine. And there were other diners.
No,
so,
you ate a pube. Or two.
Phil,
Jesus.
no,
100% ate a pube.
I don't think so. I think our bartender took care of us.
He wasn't the one cooking the food, honey.
That's true.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
So
they seemed nice though. And so, hey.
It was raining so hard though that we ran from the car to the restaurant and didn't even realize in the rain that the University of Georgia was directly across the street from this restaurant.
Could not see the campus. It was raining so hard.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, so we get there, we have dinner late, we head to our hotel. The next day really was just a plan to walk around downtown Athens. I mean, just walk around. They have an actual music walk of fame, and there's an app. But hey, whoever's out there, anything to do with this Athens music walk, you got to know this app doesn't work. I tried accessing it several times and it just wouldn't work. So I actually had to go to like their welcome center and then like screenshot a map. So they, like in Hollywood where you have a walk of fame for the stars on Hollywood Boulevard, they have a walk of fame in Athens, and it's about a 4-block radius.
2 square block area in downtown Athens, bounded by Pulaski Street, West Washington Street, North Lumpkin Street, and West Clayton Street.
Yeah, I say it's 4 blocks because I walked but you're right. The actual stars cover probably 2 blocks.
Yeah, but it's right there in downtown.
It is. And I'll never forget, we're there, we're walking around, we're looking at the map, we're going to the different stars. And I'm going to share all of this on my socials, all the photos that we took of the music star Walk of Fame. And at one point, James looks up and he looks around and he goes, this is a pretty cool area. I had not even been surveying my surroundings because I just really wanted to see, like, I'm in music. I love music.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to go to the 40 Watt. I want to go to the Georgian Theater. Like, I was like, I want to hit all these major spots of music that I knew about in the late 80s, early 90s. Like, I was just, my head was totally down. And I look up and I'm like, this place is pretty cute. And it immediately reminded me of a smaller version of Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it doesn't have the same history. There aren't the squares or the statues or anything like that.
But the way the street, like the broad, like, the
vibe.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. And the main street in Savannah, I want to say it's Broadway, but I don't think it's Broadway. I'm confusing it with Nashville. But the main street in Savannah that has like Leopold's and all these cute stores.
Yeah.
It's
Broadway, yeah.
Is it Broadway?
I think so.
It's very reminiscent of the main street in downtown Athens. Like, very reminiscent. It was almost like a carbon copy, I felt.
Yeah, it was the same vibe in terms of chill and, just being kind of cool to walk around. A lot of history. The Georgian Theater reminded me of the Tennessean in Knoxville. And I know plenty of bands have played there. We, unfortunately, on our tour, could not get close to the Georgian Theater because they were doing construction on the sidewalk at the so if you go down the Walk of Fame, unlike the stars, the Hollywood stars in Los Angeles, it's not stars on the sidewalk. It is guitar picks with the names of the acts, the performers, the bands. And the one that, let's face it, the holy grail for us as Gen Xers is to go there and see the R.E.M. guitar pick on the Walk of Fame, and of course it was being torn up on the sidewalk right in front. They were doing
unbelievable.
They were doing like sewer line work or something.
Yeah, literally, I was like, how is that even possible on the day that we're here to like take this photo of like the iconic R.E.M. Walk of Fame placement in that area, that street, that sidewalk. There was construction. Like, could not even get to it. In 2 days, I tried to get to it, could not get to it.
From the sake of the show and, our Instagram and all that other stuff, we wanted that photo up, right? Personally, I did not like R.E.M. They're not a huge band in my catalog that I've never sought out that band. There are only 1 or 2 songs. All of my college roommates and everything, they were bonkers over this band when we were, in college or what have you. I was a metalhead. I didn't get into them that much.
Were your friends depressed?
Huh?
Were your friends depressed?
Is it depressing? Oh yeah, Everybody Hurts, that song.
Yeah, they have like a couple of upbeat songs, but I would agree with Phil. They are like more
Driver 8's
mellow.
a good song.
Okay.
Take a Break, Driver 8.
Okay.
I like that song.
That's me in the corner.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was not a huge R.E.M. fan, so but I appreciate their music.
Gen Xers are self-loathers, Phil. You know that, right?
Yeah.
We do like to hate on ourselves.
Yeah.
So
y'all created grunge.
It's kind of what we do.
Yeah, it is true. So I was more of a Seattle movement person, but I appreciated the music that came out of Athens.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a huge B-52s fan either, but Love Shack's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. Well, I said, like it was one of my favorite songs, but it's not. But
it was on our wedding. It was on our wedding compilation.
Love Shack was on our wedding album.
Yeah.
What was y'all's first dance?
No, well, we had our wedding in my parents' backyard, but as gifts to everyone, I worked at a record label, so I made a CD. This was very revolutionary.
Oh my God.
Nobody had this. Like this, everyone was freaked out. I made a CD James made the cover, and I pressed because we only had 25 couples at our wedding, so 50 people total.
It's my first project in Photoshop ever.
So I pressed 25 CDs with our 15 or 12 favorite songs, and Love Shack was one of them. Because it's like a cute wedding song, so I had that on there. So
James, what's your wedding anniversary? Go.
August 7th.
Okay.
I forget the year.
Really?
1998.
99.
It was 99?
Yeah.
Close.
Well, happy... You don't say belated, but happy anniversary
Thank
to
you.
you guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Still going.
We are still going,
Still going, babe. Still going.
So
she
anyway,
doesn't regret it at all, Phil.
not a bit. All right. So anyway, so we get there. The R.E.M. Walk of Fame, guitar pick Star of Fame is not there.
It's a bust.
Yeah. So we decide that night, like, okay, we're going to go back to our hotel because we're just really there to talk about like the history of music. So
we're there to taste food and ice cream and maybe, you know, see some music.
Yeah. So, and then found out all the venues are closed. So there was no music playing the week that we were there. So, yeah.
Lucky us.
I know. All I wanted to do was see a band at the 40 Watt and I could not. Anyway. So
it was restaurant week.
Okay. That is true. We did get restaurant week, which had never happened to me in LA. So in LA, restaurant week was such a big deal because it offers you the opportunity. I don't know if where you live, you ever have something called restaurant week, but it normally happens in bigger cities.
They have restaurant week at the Sizzler.
I mean, that's something
You
that
like
I would.
Sizzler, Phil?
What is Sizzler?
You don't know what Sizzler
That's
is?
a Gen
You never
X
saw a
restaurant.
white man can't jump?
It came out in '94, bro.
He wasn't even born.
I was born, but I was like 6 or 7.
Your parents failed you. Such a great movie.
Sizzler's a horrible, cheap-ass steakhouse. Anyway, restaurant week. They have it in Orlando.
It's like Bennigan's.
It's like they have a
Worse.
buffet.
It's worse than
like
Bennigan's.
You order your steak and you get a buffet and it's all like fried mushrooms and stuff like that. But it's really,
Well, that might.
it's pretty ratchet.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to restaurant week. So restaurant week, I know they have one in Orlando. Basically what it is that restaurants will participate in this. And a lot of them are restaurants that are quite expensive. And it's not maybe a restaurant you could normally afford, but they have a price-fixed menu, a prefixed menu that is more affordable. So it could be like $39.99 and you get 3 meals. And it's like you're experiencing this restaurant that you don't want to pay, you know, $80 a person, but you'll pay $40.
I'm laughing because she said, oh, they have a prefix menu. And I said, oh, okay, cool. And then she said, do you know what that is? And I said, yes, I'm 55 years old. I know what a prefix menu was.
I don't. What is that?
And then she proceeded to give me the definition of a prefix. So when we go in, they're going to have a prefix menu. And I was like, thank you. I think it's already in the name, honey, but I appreciate you sort of dragging me out of the trailer to explain to me what a prefix menu is.
Well, for us dummies, what is that, Denise?
All right, so prefix menu is a menu that's already set up. So you can't choose from the regular menu. You tell the waitress ahead of time you're doing the prefix menu, you're there for restaurant week, they hand you the menu. You can pick 1 appetizer from a choice of 2, 1 entree from a choice of 4, and 1 dessert from like usually a choice of 2 or 3. And it just, I mean, I've done it before for restaurant week. It's phenomenal. Like I love it. It's a great way to experience a restaurant that you normally wouldn't go to except for a special occasion. But you can go on like a Tuesday night now. So what we missed in music, we gained because they had restaurant week in Athens.
That's right.
So
we were not going to rock our way through Athens. We were just going to eat our way through
It is true.
Athens.
So I picked the most expensive restaurant that's on the restaurant week, that's participating in restaurant week. It's really expensive. And it's
5 and 10, James Beard Restaurant.
Yeah. So James Beard Restaurant means that the chef or proprietor won an award. Usually the proprietor is the chef. So won an award or was nominated for award, which is like, it could be anything regarding food, like best. The awards are different. Best
Mexican
tasting.
hot chocolate.
No. It's best tasting. It's best presentation. It's like
it's categories.
Yeah.
I thought you meant it was for specific items.
Sometimes it can be for specific items also, if I remember
Like
correctly.
Mexican hot chocolate.
That's my wrestling name.
That's your wrestler name? That's false advertising.
I don't know if anybody's won a James Beard Award for Mexican hot chocolate, although it could be because there was one award, one of the restaurants.
Santa Fe.
Yeah, one of the restaurants, did they win a James Beard Award? They were just nominated for Best Mexican Chocolate in Santa Fe, but I don't think they won a James Beard Award. But there was a Mexican restaurant on Restaurant Week that was also a nominee for.
Are we back in Athens?
We're back in it. You brought up Mexican hot chocolate.
I like that when I think James Beard was the first James Beard experience I had was a Mexican hot chocolate in Santa Fe.
I don't know if it was James Beard. You're just making this up right now.
So that's
I'm
like,
not.
You are absolutely making this
delicious,
up.
So it's like
Phil.
it's like a Michelin.
Yes,
badge.
100%. It's an award. Michelin is also an award, but it's also the title of a
Tire company.
No, Yes,
Yeah.
but also a restaurant. So like if you get a Michelin award, you can say you're a Michelin star restaurant. Like, but James Beard just means you got a James Beard award. It's the same but different.
Okay,
I'm
I
not
get
a
it.
foodie like that. I just like to eat. So I can't tell you the ins and outs of the awards. But yes, very similar to a Michelin award. So we went there because I was like, this place is one of the best in Athens.
Cocktails were great.
James did not like the food. Let's just get right to it. James did
Cocktails
not
were
like the
great.
food. But you know what? In my defense, who orders a vegetable tostada?
They had a vegetable tostada. I thought, oh, I'll be a little healthy. And then I'll order the fish. I was on a health kick.
It was
that week.
ridiculous. You know a tostada is crunchy already. So you know when you bite into it, you're biting into crunchiness. And if you have veggies on top, the minute you bite into it, all the vegetables are falling off the tostada. You know this. You need cheese on a tostada. You need beans that are smeared on it.
Okay. But I was not expecting a 2-inch thick tostada that was like fried to a crisp. Like I couldn't even cut it with a knife or a fork. Couldn't break it effectively. So yeah, my salad flew everywhere as I was trying to like take a bite out of this.
They
thing.
probably fried that thing 4 times.
They probably did because I was the only one who ordered it and they originally made it at noon. I don't know. I don't want to disparage the restaurant. I'm sure their menu is fantastic. The prefix menu though, I chose very poorly and some of it wasn't even my fault. I got my
Did
fish.
someone make you order the vegetable tostada?
We're past that.
Okay.
I already did my mea culpa for ordering that. I thought it was going to be like Mexican, I thought it was going to be
what?
like fajita veggies, but it was
really?
like lettuce.
We're in a 5-star restaurant. You thought they're going to throw fajita veggies on a tostada.
That is
Okay, we
what
were
it-
not at like El
Chili's.
Ranchito.
You know,
That
like
is what a
Chili's.
Mexican tostada should look like, right?
What, Phil?
A veggie tostada.
So you're not at Chili's.
Exactly. And okay, so the next day I thought to myself, we should do a music tour. Like I'm going to hire a tour guide to do a music tour and get a legit lowdown on, do these people still live here? You know, what kind of music scene is Athens now? All of that. And like nothing worked out. I'm not lying. Like literally nothing worked out. So the tour I had scheduled for the next day, the guy wasn't available. But the Welcome Center, you know, they said, well, we have tours here and there'll be a history tour. So if you want to do that, it's like $10.
Not the same as a rock and roll tour.
Not at all. Not at all. So anyway, yeah. So we did the history tour. So I said to James, let's like we're here. So I'm going to book this history tour. So the next day I have the history tour booked at 12. And James says the night before we're like about to go to sleep. And do you remember you were like, do you remember what you said? Okay. I remember it so distinctly, all of this.
Okay.
I know you were sulky about the food, but you were like, we have time tomorrow morning. Let's look at houses. And I remember saying to you, why? Like, we're just here to do a, like, where are they now kind of show. So let's look at
remember this.
houses.
And I said, because it's what I do. When
It
we go
is.
to different spots, I always want to look at neighborhoods. How do people live? It's, you know, I think it's like an anthropological thing.
I know,
do
but my
this.
point was that we're not here for that. We're just here to do a fun episode on where are they now. Like, I was like, why are we wasting our time doing a house tour? Like, it makes no sense.
I think looking at houses for sale is fun. So I'm sorry.
Agreed. But on this particular episode that I was producing, you were making it hard for me to produce this episode.
Okay, go on. Stated.
So I had to indulge him. And on the morning before our history lesson with our tour guide, we went to look at houses in Athens. And I remember the very first place we went, I looked at the map because James always maps everything out. And I was like, oh, why are we going 20 minutes outside the city? I was like, and you remember you say it, do you remember what you said? You were like, it's not that far. Like, this is the first house.
It was actually only 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, ugh. I saw like the line on Apple Maps. I was like, that's really far from where we are. Why are we doing this? And then what happened?
It was gorgeous the entire way. We ended up heading south out of the downtown area, and we got to a place called Snapfinger Woods and a place called Chamberlain. Like, that's sort of the area we were in. It's still Athens proper, but we were kind of east of a little town called Watkinsville, which is outside of Athens as well. And everything was wooded. It had all of the things that we thought we were going to get when we were in Knoxville, Tennessee, or even Chattanooga at that point. There were houses on... we found the first house we rolled up to. Let's just get to it. The first house we rolled up to, 6 acres, tucked away in the woods, beautiful 4-bedroom, 3 baths, $525,000, 15 minutes outside of city center.
Yeah, it was incredible. So as he's driving, I'm on my phone because I'm like, you know, figuring out the rest of our time here. I want to get in as much music as possible. And I look up and there are woods everywhere. And he's driving for like miles. And you would come across a sign that would say University of Georgia, Department of Agriculture. Then you'd go a few more miles, another sign that says University of Georgia, Department of Environmental Sciences. Then you'd go University of Georgia, Department of Biology. All of this land, we're talking hundreds with an S, acres, not going to be built on because the university owned it. I could not believe it. And the moment that you said, we're here, I was like, wait, we're here? Yep. Like it seemed like 5 minutes because the drive from our hotel to this first house, which was supposed to be 15 to 20 minutes, felt like 5 because you're just driving through beautiful countryside. Like it's just untouched and it's never going to be built on. I mean, it was really unbelievable. I was like amazed.
There was plenty of space. There were neighbors, but you were far enough away. You had your own thing. Like I said, it was 6 acres, wooded. So it's not like you had to get out there with the brush hog and cut those fields down every week and, you know, spend your entire Saturday doing lawn work. It was pretty spectacular. We looked at 4 or 5 houses that morning before we had to do our tour.
Yeah, and I remember after the first house, I was like, where's the next house? And every house we went to was really just as beautiful as the first one you picked out. There was one that was in more of a neighborhood, and even that one, like if I had to do that one, even though it was in a neighborhood, I was like, I'd still do this because it wasn't like you weren't on top of your neighbors. You were actually in a subdivision. I would be in a subdivision, and you would never know that you were in a subdivision because there was so much space between you and the next house.
Yeah, and I believe the one we looked at had no HOA or anything like that. It wasn't a subdivision per se. It was in a development, but there was no HOA. It
was crazy. Like it was in that moment that I looked at you and I said, this is everything we've been talking about for 2 years, like legitimately everything. And then we had to really like sit with it for a minute and go do our tour. So then we like had to leave these houses and then we went to do our tour.
So like while you were doing your tour, was all you were thinking about was the houses now?
Yep.
You're like,
I have to say myself, yeah, I was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All I kept thinking was,
let's go back.
Yeah, I was like, absolutely. I was like, this is crazy. Like we just found, I think we found our place. But I didn't want to get too excited about it because, you know, Guilford, Connecticut also had this feeling like we found our place and then we ended up getting burned. And so I thought, all right, we need to talk about it because we also just got back from Chattanooga and we loved Chattanooga. Yeah. So, you know, after the tour, we really had to have like a serious conversation about what we liked about this versus Covington, Kentucky versus Chattanooga, Tennessee. Like, because those, you know, Chattanooga we really liked.
Yep.
And Covington we obviously really liked. We did a show on it.
Yeah.
So what is it about this that makes it different than the other two? But before we even get to that, we do this tour, right? Because we're like, okay.
But first, the tour.
Yeah. So we're like here and we're like, okay, look, we like this place. Yep. So let's get into it. Like kind of how we did Savannah. We liked Savannah. So it's like, let's get into this, you know, into this tour and learn about this city. Tell everyone how that tour was, babe.
Well, so when we were in Savannah, we did a tour with Bonnie from Bonnie Blue Tours. And it was also a history tour, which I wasn't really super amped about, but I was like, okay, for the sake of the show, let's do this so we know what the heck we're talking about when we do a podcast. And that tour ended up being magnificent. She really knew the richness of the city. She took us through so many of the squares there in downtown Savannah and could explain what each one signified or how each one came to be or the symbolism behind it. So when we met at the place where we met the tour guide.
Yeah, it was the Welcome Center.
The Welcome Center. That's what I was trying to say. We were sort of expecting that kind of experience. And it was pretty apparent within the first 10 minutes of the tour, we were not going to get that experience. I think I'm just going to disclaim it for the sake of our tour guide, but I think our tour guide had a very flustered morning because somebody called in sick that morning and they did not realize they were going to be giving us a tour. And it was pretty obvious because there wasn't a lot of information to be gleaned from the hour and a half we spent. I mean, we did ask questions. We asked a lot of questions.
And he didn't know any answers.
He did not.
Yeah. And then at one point I was like, how long have you worked here? And then I was like, how long have you lived in Athens? Long enough to have done a better tour. But, you know, I do think to myself, because we've done tours in other cities, you kind of get what you pay for. So that tour was $10. Oh, and we got what we paid for.
That explains it.
Yeah, like really knew absolutely nothing about the city. But it was we got a great walk around the city.
We did. We got to see a couple things. And Phil, you're going to like this one. We got to see a double-barreled cannon. So basically, it's like a double-barreled shotgun, only twice as big, right?
Yeah.
And they were testing it out, I believe, prior to the Civil War. But here's the catch: the cannonballs inside the barrels were connected to one another with a chain, and so when they fired it, the object was for the balls to whip around like, you know, those sort of tribal bolo balls or whatever they like, you know, that like.
You should have the camera
I know,
on
we should
him right now.
Phil is not just like
I'm clutching my pearls.
You are.
I know. Like, remember they used to have those things that they whip around and they like tie up your legs and they trip people or whatever. I don't know. It was a way to catch game or what have you. So I guess when they originally fired this thing, the only casualty ever of a double-barreled cannon was a cow out in the field because they quickly realized that in terms of physics, this weapon was never going to work as a weapon of war. It was too unruly. They couldn't control where it went. The balls would just whip around and they're connected by a chain. And it was like,
just take the chain off.
I know.
But I think they wanted double destruction, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the point of they want double destruction? But if you can't control where it goes, then that's just really messy.
Fire and pray.
I know,
you hope and pray.
But let's think about it for a second. The physics of a double-barreled shotgun is like you have two barrels and you can shoot it wherever you want, right? I mean, I guess their theory was it would just widen the damage if they connected it by chain. But if you're firing a double-barrel shotgun, you're going to put two rather large holes, right, in a given space if it's a fixed aim. So I don't know. I mean, it was a fun factoid, and it sits there in the town.
It does.
It sits there in like the historic area of downtown. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The other thing that was pointed out, like my other big takeaway after all that, was the federal style houses, which we had never we're not architects, strangely enough. So. We were not familiar exactly with the term of what that meant, but now that it was explained to us, they're very boxy sort of style houses where they're square or rectangular. They have square windows and, a little bit of ornate features above the doorway. But for the most part, it was just a very huge brick house that was in a square.
So this was made in The Sims.
Yes.
It was made in The Sims.
Yeah.
So those were my two big takeaways from the tour. What did you get? It was sweltering hot. I got that.
Yes.
Sweltering hot.
It was still manageable. I didn't feel like that it was hot, but that wasn't it didn't take away from the tour for me.
No.
I was just about to say the takeaway from me was when we went to the University of Georgia, which is a beautiful campus, has 40,000 kids. And I've got to tell you, for a campus with 40,000 kids, it doesn't feel immense. It feels like a sweet little Georgia college. It's crazy. How do they have 40,000 kids? And it's sprawling, but it doesn't feel like it's sprawling. Right. The campus is beautiful. Whatever you think of a southern campus, that's kind of it. It has the wrought iron gates as you enter, the courtyard with the classrooms around it, the beautiful architecture of the college. I love. I'm going to get this fun fact wrong, I know, but he did tell us that
if you get it wrong, it's not a fact.
Then what is it? A fun misnomer. It's a fun misnomer. I'm going to get it wrong. The archway to walk into the university, you're not allowed to walk through the archway until you graduate. Isn't that what it is?
It's considered bad luck, yeah, until you if you walk through the arch prior to graduation. There was just a student like way back in the day who started this tradition. And so all the undergrads walk around the archway through the grass or whatever.
No, through the side entrances. So the archway also has 2 side entrances. Remember he showed us, he's like, look at the cement stairs. So the side of the archway also has 2 gates that are open, wrought iron, and you could see the cement stairs are worn away, but the 5 stairs that are beautifully,
preserved. Yeah.
Yes, they're beautifully preserved underneath this arch. Yeah, so everyone goes around the arch. So
because turns out when people graduate, they rarely ever come back to school. So nobody's walking under that arch.
It's true.
At any given moment during the day.
Yeah.
But I have some fun facts about University of Georgia. Do you want to hear them?
Oh,
so
sure.
you said about 40,000 students. Last year it was actually 38,500 students, something like that. That sounds like a huge college, but in reference to some other colleges, Ohio State has 66,000 students. Michigan has 51,000 students. Alabama, how big do you think they are? Same conference as in the SEC as Georgia.
48.
Oh, yeah. I say 50,000 students.
They're roughly the same size. So,
whoa.
Yeah, Georgia and Alabama are roughly the same size.
Okay, we've been to Alabama.
Tuscaloosa, yeah.
There's no comparison. Tuscaloosa feels like 40,000 kids. University of Georgia does not.
No, but I think it's a little misleading because where you enter from downtown to go to the University of Georgia, that's just one entrance, and the entire campus like pushes all the way south and east of there. So
we did go around the back, though. I mean, not walk, but do you remember?
We went behind the old college building and stuff like that. We saw a little bit.
I still felt like it wasn't. I still felt like it wasn't Alabama.
So all those campuses, though, that I just rattled off, not the largest campus in the United States. What is the largest campus in the United States?
UCF.
In terms of, it is. You knew it.
I was going to say it's a Florida campus.
I thought I was going to get you on this.
I was going to say like whatever Florida State is, right? Like isn't like Florida State?
Not even close. University of Florida and Florida State and Tallahassee, neither one comes close.
I knew it was going to be Florida though because they're huge football teams.
University of Central Florida. 69,000 students.
But you guys don't have a football team.
Oh, yeah,
are you being for real?
Wait, who's your football team?
The Knights.
But are you guys any good?
Yes.
Wait a second. Hold on. I thought the Tallahassee team was really good.
The
Florida
Seminoles.
State?
The Seminoles are good. The Gators are good.
Who's the big one?
Yeah. So the most
Who's
the
the
most
big
popular is Florida Gators, which is the Gainesville.
That's
University of Florida. Then you have the Seminoles, which is in Tallahassee. Then you have Miami,
Yep.
University of Miami, and then you have UCF. But in the past 15 years, UCF has become one of the top division teams in the.
What's their names?
The Knights.
I've never heard of them. I've heard of the other Florida State.
I've heard of them because I remember when they were so small that Youngstown State played them as Division 2A school or whatever division we were in at that time. 1AA.
Do they ever win?
Yes, they win their conference every year.
What conference are they?
Well, they just got part of. They just went up, but the conference that they were in was, oh my God, I forgot. It's on the tip of my tongue. I know.
But they don't play like Ohio State, and they don't play USC and all of that.
They play top teams now.
They've been in bowls.
Oh.
Yeah, they play top
They've
teams
been in a lot
now.
of bowls, especially in the
Conference
last 5
Conference
to 10
US
years.
Conference USA was their
Conference USA.
Oh, I
Was
just
there
learned
one?
something on
Yeah.
this podcast.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask because I knew that fact, right?
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, with a school like UCF being the largest in the country, that's not all that Orlando has. You know what I'm saying? Some cities probably like with Tuscaloosa,
Yeah.
that's it.
Right.
Is the campus?
Yeah.
Was it like that when you guys went?
It's
to
only
Georgia?
Alabama. Yeah, Tuscaloosa is
No,
just
but
that campus.
was it like that when you went to Georgia?
Oh no, not at all.
No?
Like,
No,
it's a music scene. Like it's
Athens.
also a music scene, art scene. Yeah.
And there were plenty of locals would say, oh, the students kind of stick to their end of town. Like there's College Square and a few, like they have a whole strip of bars and restaurants and stuff right across from the campus that the students tend to frequent. And then all the hipsters, aging hipsters, people like that, they all have sort of their section of downtown that they go to where they can hear their rock and roll bands or their country music acts or whatever they want to listen to. So it seems like, so I'm on Reddit. And there are people that complain about game days or what have you. But most of the locals would just say, stay away from downtown on game day and stop complaining if you don't want to be part of the festivities. It sounds like a lot of fun, plenty of tailgates. I guess they lift the open container laws on those days, on game days, where you can walk around with a beer or a beverage of your choice and have a good time. And as long as nobody's acting the fool, everybody's having a good time. And as we all know, after a couple of championships, University of Georgia has done very well for themselves in terms of football over the past several years.
It's so funny because I had no idea that the University of Georgia was even in Athens. Did you know that?
I did, actually, but I forgot because it wasn't the reason we were going there.
Yeah. And then we found out, University of Georgia, Phil, is a very hard school to get into.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. Like, I was like, University of Georgia, okay. It's like, I was literally like, whatever, no, how hard is it to get in there? You were schooling me on this.
The incoming freshman class this year, 2024, has an average GPA of 4.12.
How do you...
I know. How do you get above 4?
Average. It's the average.
Yeah.
So if you score a 4,
Right.
right. Getting in.
It's going to be tougher, yeah. So everybody got straight A's and took 1 or 2 college AP classes.
But what's their main thing? Are they like agriculture school or are they technology school?
They do agriculture. I think there's also a big veterinarian presence there.
Mm-hmm.
And there are 1 or 2 others. I forget. It escapes me. I don't know if there's business
okay, they
or
do
what.
have a university hospital, so obviously medicine is, because any university that has a hospital attached, obviously medicine is a part of it. I don't know if it's a strong biology department or if they have just a graduate medical program is highly ranked. That I'm not sure, but medicine has to be in there somewhere because they actually have a university hospital.
I hate that people say UGA.
I
don't
what?
like UGA.
What's UGA?
UGA.
Oh.
Yeah, they always say UGA.
I would never say that.
And I think of the dog.
I won't say that either.
The bulldog.
Yeah.
The bulldog, UGA?
Yeah.
Is that the name of the dog?
It's a bulldog.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the name of their mascot, but they always say UGA because
I did not know that.
To shorten it for University of Georgia.
Are we going to have to say UGA if we live there?
UGA, 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 UGA. Is that what they say during the football rallies?
Don't say that again, Denise.
Sounds really weird.
I'm just saying, is that what they yell during football, like halftime? I have no idea. Anyway, I was just shocked at that it's actually a hard school to get into. You just wouldn't think that.
I know, because, like Ohio State, you're just like, anybody can go.
I know, because I just think look, I'm going to be honest, with the big football team, like Alabama.
Yeah, those schools, you tend to think like anybody
could
could just wander in there.
Except UCLA and
C
USC.
average coming out of high school, yeah.
I mean, Oregon isn't hard to get into, So it's like this, whatever. So we come in with preconceived thoughts, and it's like, you're wrong.
Clearly UCF is not that hard to get into with 70,000 kids.
They'll take anyone.
I don't know. We'll have to do a deep dive on that.
All right.
But you made a friend while we were there. So let's talk about that before we talk about neighborhoods.
Okay, so really quick. So I'm in Athens, and my friend from LA calls me the second day we're there, and she says, hey, I have a friend who lives in Athens. Would you like me to connect you with her? And my first question was, when was the last time you talked to this person? And she goes, 15 years ago. I'm like, no, don't bother. I'm not going to put you through an hour-long conversation just to tell her I'm in town. So don't even bother doing it. The next day, she texts me and says, hey, I reached out to her. She's expecting your phone call. She's lived in Athens for 30 years. She is the booking agent at 40 Watt. Okay. To be a booking...
Let's talk about 40 Watt real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Historically, it's one of the most well-known rock and roll clubs in the United States. So there was CBGB's in New York. Pour some out. Rest in peace. It's no longer with us. 40 Watt.
Right, the Roxy, the Rainbow in LA.
Yep. And I'm sure...
Chicago, the Metro.
The Metro, right. And so anyway, it's on par in Little Athens, Georgia. It's on par with some of the most well-known rock and roll clubs, music venues in the United States.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to call her because I'm here for music. I have 100 questions to ask her, right? Her name is Valina, and I'm going to do my best to try to get her on the show because I really want her to do an episode because she has so much knowledge. So she's been the booking agent at 40 Watt, I think for almost as long as she has lived there. So if it's not 30 years and it's been like 20, 25 years. I'm on the phone with her for like an hour. And then out of the blue, she happens to say to me that she is also the vice president of Live Nation. And so I'm like wait.
The whole...
Like she actually is vice president of the booking department for Live Nation. Like I'm saying booking, but there's an actual fancy term for it. Like, I don't know what the fancy term is, but yes, she's vice president of that department.
I just envision all of the listeners jumping on LinkedIn right now.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Find this person.
Yeah, and so I'm like, why didn't you lead with that? Like literally we're winding down our conversation. I'm like, why did you not lead with that? So anyway, super knowledgeable. I'm about to hang up and she says to me, hey, what are you guys doing tonight? And I was like, oh, we're just gonna like hang out at the hotel room, you know, plan like the rest of like our days.
Do a basic dinner and find a restaurant or whatever.
And she's like, come have dinner with my husband and I. And I was like, what? And she's like, we'll show you around our neighborhood and we'll just talk about all things Athens. So she was incredible. Her husband, David, works, he's a musician, but he also works at the university. And so it was like really great to sit with them. I mean, we just picked their brain for hours.
Yeah.
I mean, hours. They had to be exhausted by the end of that dinner. They had us over at their house. They showed us their neighborhood. Where they happen to live is like a little bit more of a neighborhood. We want to live a little more outside of that. Like we want land. But they live like where R.E.M has homes, Widespread Panic has homes, like university professors and doctors all have homes in this area.
Very charming neighborhood.
Oh, it's like
really pretty.
It's kind of like out of American Horror Story.
Oh.
Don't you think? Like the Gothic style
That's a turn
houses.
I wasn't expected.
Yeah, like the Gothic style houses.
There were some, yeah. Definitely.
I was like, oh, this is so cool. But all that to say, the first thing I asked her when we got on the phone was, where are your bad neighborhoods? Yep, I needed to know. Because
we had driven around at that point. We hadn't really seen much of anything.
Nope. And the one thing that we did not see while we were driving around is every nice area is notorious for this. And that is, you'll see a beautiful home on acres of property, and then right next door will be a double wide with like a house on, with a car on cinder blocks. We didn't see any of that at all. Not one double wide, not one crappy yard that had been neglected, nothing like that. So I knew that we had missed that area and I wanted to know where it was. And when I asked her where the bad area was, she really like hesitated and she said, we don't have one. And I was like, no.
I thought she was going to say, this is it.
Oh my God, that would have been amazing.
Did she have like the cute Southern accent? Like, did she call you sugar? Was she a big black mama or?
No, she's a white girl. Oh. No, she didn't. She had a little bit of a Southern accent, but she wasn't heavy.
She's not from there, right? Is she from Athens?
No,
she was there for 30 years.
Not from Athens.
She's from somewhere else.
30 years. She's been there for 30 years. I know you would catch on to a Southern accent after 30 years. I agree with you. She didn't have she had a Southern accent, yes, but it wasn't like super, super heavy.
Do you remember the show Designing Women?
Of course.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, no, she wasn't that. Okay. No. She's a hipster. So, got it. There's no big hair. There's no.
Maybe a very faint drawl, but that's it.
I think she had more than a faint drawl.
You think so?
I did. I do. So anyway, so she says, people ask me where the bad neighborhoods are when they come to, no, she said, what'd she say? She goes, when people come to visit, I never have to say to them, stay away from this neighborhood, like, or any neighborhood. And she lived in LA. So she was very familiar with the bad areas in LA. So she's like, oh, I'm familiar with LA. I'm familiar with this neighborhood in LA. So she was in LA, I think for 2 years or something like that, or a year and a half. Anyway, so she said, we have housing projects here, but they don't look like housing projects. She's like, everyone takes really good care of their house, their yard. She's like, you kind of wouldn't even know it was a housing project.
Well, we had driven past one on the way to her house that we didn't even realize. Like, maybe we could have figured it out if we weren't just blowing through.
Yeah.
But she said those particular projects that were close to her neighborhood are just more sort of old people that have lived there for, sort of regulated income housing.
Yeah. So for us, that was, I would say, was the deciding factor of let's pursue Athens. Because when we were in Chattanooga, there was definitely that beautiful home, double wide, beautiful home, double wide. Like that was there.
There were neighborhoods that were still sort of on, you could tell they were on the upswing, but hadn't fully made the turn.
Covington, when you're within a certain area, it's really, really beautiful. You go out a few blocks and then you're in like not so nice area. That wasn't Athens. And so for us, we're like, if all the prices are the same, and they were, like Covington, Athens, Chattanooga, why not just pick the place that like you're guaranteed like a really nice area with neighbors that take care of their homes. There's kind of like no question about like, going into a sketchy area by accident. Like, why not just pick that?
I mean, there are a handful of people on Reddit that say, don't go here or don't go there or whatever, but I take Valina at her word. She said, there's not a place in this city I wouldn't send you. So that's something we haven't really heard in any other town we've been in. So
it's true.
It did give us a little bit of, something to think about after we had dinner with them, which, by the way, was at a place called The National. Highly recommend. It was a great place. I thought the food was good. You?
Yeah, owned by the people who own 5 and 10.
Oh, no way.
What is that?
Is that right? That's the other restaurant we went to where they swapped out my fish and I ate hammered pork.
Oh, 5 and 10. Okay.
So, but anyway, that place was great. And the next morning, what did we do? We got up and went and looked at neighborhoods again.
Yeah, it was incredible. So, we kept going back and forth on this. Like, what would be, like, why Chattanooga? Why Covington? And we still kept going back to, we can get everything we want for the same price, and it's just nicer. It's just nicer. But there is one thing that I am still hung up on, and I can just say to you, being over 100 episodes, 2 years of traveling, thousands of miles, you just can't have everything because the airport is 90 minutes away. And that
you have to fly out of ATL.
Yep, and that is a bummer. So in that night that we had dinner with David and Valina, she kept saying, it's fine, there's shuttles. You can hire a driver. It's fine. Even the other day I talked to her on the phone and she's like, are you still hung up on the airport thing? Yeah. And I said, kind of. I'm like, it's just far. She goes, you go when you go shopping. You have a good time in Atlanta. And I was like, oh God. So I'm trying to settle myself with that because a 90-minute drive is far. And as she said, nobody, you know what? You have a shuttle. You have people pick them up. You're not going to the airport. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to at some point have to tell people that come visit, I'm not picking you up. And I have a hard time with that because my thought is when they pay the money, they're getting on a plane and they want to spend time with you, the least you can do is pick them up from the airport. But maybe if everybody knew it was a 3-hour trip, round trip, they would understand. It just seems so crappy not to pick them up. Like, I'm having a hard time with that.
I mean, we can figure that out at a later date. I don't know. It's like the extra 15 minutes that we travel from our place in Florida to Tampa right now is, I don't know.
Or Orlando Airport.
It's negligible in terms of, everything you get in that area. Let's talk about neighborhoods real fast.
Yes, of course, because they're amazing.
We're going to do pros and cons. Okay?
Yes, okay, sounds good.
So downtown, obviously, we talked about it's central to University of Georgia. I think there were some condos in that area. There's College Square, there's a music scene, all that other stuff. One of the two of the biggest, the most popular places I think to live one is 5 Points. It's a 1920s area neighborhood. That's where 5 and 10 was. 5 Points Bottle Shop, Condor Coffee. There's a place called Avid Bookshop, which is a really popular independent bookstore. Yes. And I actually read an article on them recently, just as a quick sidebar. They're in this lawsuit against Gwinnett County Jail. They sent books to inmates, and the jail would not allow the inmates to have the books because they said that Avid Bookshop was not an authorized retailer. So they are battling that in court right now because they want to get books in the hands of the inmates, which I think is a very noble thing. So the next time, we did not get a chance to go to Avid Books, but
I'll spend my money there.
Well, the books that they're trying to give them are the books that say how to escape from prison. So that's why they're trying to put a block on that. You know what I'm saying? They don't.
How to make a bomb?
How to hotwire a car? Yeah. Well, how much a brick of cocaine weighs?
Exactly.
How to hide drugs?
Yeah. How to make a pipe bomb. Yeah. So 5 Points is great. We actually went through there. It's a cool area. Normal Town is an actual place. Normaltown is the name of it. It's named after some normal school. Like, I think Normal was the name of the person who started the school. Who do they teach?
Teachers.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. So it's a school that teaches teachers?
It's a school that originally taught teachers. Yeah, to be teachers.
Huh.
That's kind of cool.
Teachers, a teaching institution for teachers.
Okay.
How about that? So I think now they just call it master's degrees.
Maybe. But we stayed in Normaltown. That's where we stayed. Yeah.
No, we didn't.
We did. Please do not do this with me. We stayed in Normaltown.
I don't think we were there.
Yes,
I don't
babe,
think
we were there.
okay.
We were. Uh-huh.
All right, I'm going to let you hang on that. Check out High Low Lounge. It seems like a very popular joint. And there's a place called Automatic Pizza that I think recently opened up that a lot of people seem to enjoy.
Was it automatic?
I guess. I don't know. You call them and automatically you have pizza.
Like,
I like the concept.
Like a drone delivery?
Okay, so it's one of those places we're going to have to visit when we go back.
Definitely.
Because there was so many things that we wanted to do. And unfortunately, there's just so much time that we could spend there. And but our thought was, okay, kind of like Guilford, because we were in Guilford for a certain amount of time and we knew we're going to go back and spend a month. So with Athens, we both felt like we didn't want to like overdo it there. Like, we like it, but we want the real experience when we stay for an extended period of time. So the real experience is now what we're going to do in the next few weeks.
Yes, we are. You keep getting ahead of me. So I want to talk quickly about Boulevard and Cobham, which are also west of downtown. Cobham is a historic district, and that's where some of the oldest Victorian houses are. So that's probably a spot where you and I are not going to be able to afford. Yeah. I bet it approaches Savannah level prices.
Yeah. We walked through it on the tour.
We did.
Yeah.
And then there's Windy Hill. So out on the west part of town, that's where you get more of your suburbs, your Chipotles, your Best Buys, all that other stuff, from what I found. And so,
and they really keep it away from like the downtown area. Like, you have to go out to go get that. I love that.
Which is
like,
perfect.
It is
Covington's
so perfect.
the same way.
It is true.
And that's a great thing. And then finally, David, when we went to dinner, he also mentioned to me that we should check out Watkinsville, which I already mentioned. We were sort of in that area, but not actually in Watkinsville, and Bishop.
Okay.
So, which is south of Athens.
Yep.
So, so let's talk about pros and cons.
Sure.
Let's talk about Chattanooga, Covington, Athens.
Okay, bring it.
First off, Savannah's off the list for us. We agree.
We do. It's just too expensive. And then James recently told me it's too quiet for him. So there you have that.
I don't know. I mean, after being there with the TV show and all that, the luster is worn off for me. So Savannah's out. Chattanooga, we enjoyed, for anybody who listens to that episode. But I do think there's a little bit of what you were talking about, where just because you have a great piece of property, a great house, doesn't mean there's not going to be an eyesore right next to you. So that's a consideration. Covington is basically in-town city living. I hesitate to call it a city. I know it's a city. You do have so many great amenities, though, being in Covington. As we talked before, you have basically access to all the sporting goods, all the sporting events, everything in, and you have access to an airport, 3 airports, really, from Covington. But I must say, after being in Athens, it had the perfect downtown that our kids would not get bored. There are the University of Georgia students there who are all the same age as our children are. They would have something to do if one of them decided they would go to grad school or what have you, and they had a 4.12 GPA. They could potentially get into the University of Georgia for extending their education. It had the music scene that we aspire to.
Yes.
It had the restaurants, and I think, honestly, I probably ordered poorly at the one restaurant, as you mentioned. So I'm willing to give 5 and 10 another chance. And it had the land that we wanted within proximity to a downtown for me.
Yeah.
It had the woods. It had the houses that we wanted. It had the size of house we wanted within the budget we wanted. I have to say the wheels have been spinning ever since we've been there. And out of all the cities that we've looked at all this time, Athens is really a southern version of Guilford for me. The only difference being there's actual inventory. There are houses to purchase there.
Yeah.
At the price points we want. What about you?
I just kept comparing it to Chattanooga because to me, and Savannah, it's no comparison to Covington because it just looks visually different. But it's very similar to Chattanooga and very similar to Savannah. Chattanooga is just on the dirtier side, and that's just the truth. The downtown area is a little gritty. The houses, like I said, double wide, nice house. So you have that again. You didn't have that in Athens. The downtown area of Athens was beautiful. The outlying areas were beautiful. So for me, that's what just pushed it over the line. Like between those two cities, it just pushed it over the line. Now comparing it to Covington, Covington is just a straight up neighborhoods. They're just cool, arty neighborhoods.
Amen. Yeah, they are.
So that's a different feel altogether. Like if you're living in Covington, you're really living in Cincinnati. So you are in a city environment the entire time you are living there. And although I like that because I like the walkability of it and all the things that both of those towns, Cincinnati and Covington, have to offer, I don't know, just the idea of having space. I've never had that kind of space. I mean, I did when I was a kid. Like my parents lived in a house where it was on half an acre. So it's like, but now as an adult coming from LA where the houses were on top of each other, I lived in San Diego in a loft, lived in Chicago when as an adult and lived in apartments. And so I want space. That's what it comes down to. I want space.
I have an opinion.
Yeah.
Tell us. You get a vote, Phil.
So something seems off about this place.
Oh my God, tell me what?
It's just, are you guys fans of Simon Pegg? You know who that is? He's a
Simon Pegg?
British actor.
Oh yeah,
He does all the Mission Impossible movies, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, Shaun of the Dead. That's the movie I was thinking of.
Did you watch At World's End or The World's End?
Have not seen that one.
Okay, so this place seems too good. Something is afoot.
A little too Stepford.
So it's either that or all the neighbors are aliens or they're all murderers or they all drug runners.
Ooh,
so
drug running would be good.
Drug running would be a great enterprise in Athens.
Everything you're saying sounds great, but I'm like, something's
amiss.
Something just tingles me here.
Ooh,
I saw you.
How do you not have a ghetto?
I was just gonna say I saw you flinch when Denise was telling you that Valina said there were no bad spots
because they murder all of the poor people.
Oh my God! I only saw 3 homeless people the entire time I was there.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I mean, how do you not have a bad area? Right.
That seems fishy to me. You know.
Well, we're gonna find out.
So
we're going to find out because we're going to go and we want to spend a month there and live like a local. I mean, I'm trying not to get excited about it just because of what happened in the past with Guilford, but I am excited.
Yeah. I don't know. Something seems.
All right. I'm going to report back.
Yeah. I do like the Connecticut connection or Tennessee for y'all. But
you like Tennessee better?
I think Connecticut better, but you couldn't find, there's
amazing.
No inventory,
Can't
right?
find a house. Yeah. Connecticut is amazing.
Yeah.
Can't find
I mean,
a house.
we'll see. The Fed is supposed to drop interest rates or whatever. So maybe somebody will finally move and want to sell their house and get off. Problem is nobody can sell their house because they're going to be stuck. They all bought their houses at a 2 or 3% interest rate. And now if they were to buy another house, even if they wanted to move south, they're paying 6% interest. So a lot of the fuddy-duddies up north don't want to do that.
Well, we can go just shoot some guns in the neighborhoods to lower the property values.
That's a great idea.
Bow, bow, bow.
Get the double barrel cannon.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's my take.
That's your take.
Yeah.
Advantages for me, 1 hour to Lake Lanier. And that, even though we didn't get to see it, I know it's a huge spot. So many listeners have said to us.
We're getting a boat.
We're going to get a boat. We're going to have to tow it an hour. That's not going to be great. I don't know if that's an advantage or a disadvantage. Plus, Phil, I don't know if you know this, but Lake Lanier was created after they burst a dam over a Native American reservation.
That's why I knew Lake Lanier is the haunted lake.
It's the haunted lake.
It's the haunted lake.
Yeah,
so they put I knew something was afoot.
Yeah,
I knew it.
Yeah, that's a rumor. We'll see.
It's funny though because Athens to me is not as creepy as Savannah, and I say creepy in a good way. Like I thought Savannah was properly creepy. Like, I love the ghost tours that they do. I love the cemetery right there in the middle of town. All that.
It's because
other
they
stuff.
don't hide it.
They don't hide it. They don't hide it. And it is 400 years of history in Savannah. Not quite as many in Athens, I know. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's not, it doesn't have that same level
Absolutely
of
does not. Creepiness.
Yeah.
Which lends to Phil's argument there's something going on.
Yeah.
Which means it's really creepy.
Yeah, which means it's really creepy. So we'll have to see.
You got to check the back of their necks if there's like
Oh,
Velcro.
God.
If there's like
God.
if there's a divot.
Or like a barcode.
Yeah.
Oh my
telling
God.
you.
That's so funny. Disadvantages, as you said, it gets hot in the summer, but we
There's the
spent
South.
we spent a lot of time in Florida, and it's way hotter here than anywhere we've been in the South in the last 3 or 4 months.
That's true.
So, and the distance to the Atlanta airport. And one thing, though, I don't know if you're aware, is that the D.R. Horton Company out of Texas, they're a home builder, like they're a building company. They build homes. They are planning an 874-unit housing development in Athens, Clark County, and it is in the west part.
Oh, no.
Far west part.
Oh, no.
Now, we were looking at the houses we were looking at were in the southeast part. So it would be all the way on the other side of town, but that could be one or two things.
Oh, my God. I have to call Valina right now.
It could be one or two things. It could be either, if we're talking about buying a house and just holding on to it for 10 years, it could be amazing.
If you want it in a development. Oh, okay. I know what you're saying.
I don't want a
Right.
development. I'm saying it could be
Right.
amazing for property values
Yeah.
if you want to sell later because the
Why
place
are
is
they
growing.
doing that?
Also, David, when we were talking and you expressed your problem with the airport, he said it's only a matter of time until we get our own airport. And I can see that. It's pretty surprising to me. They had one at one time. I think it was shut down. But
They have a regional, but it's just regional.
It's pretty surprising to me that they don't have like flights on the same level as like Knoxville Airport or Chattanooga or wherever.
I would say Covington
So,
or Cincinnati,
yeah.
but no, Cincinnati's big. But
Cincinnati's huge, yeah. But so anyway, that's an issue. And so on one hand, does it mean a population explosion and the town's not going to have nearly as much charm as it's always had?
Yeah, that's
Or
what that means.
Does it mean, for somebody like us, it's like, well, let's hold on to it for 10, 15 years, sell it at a profit, and then...
Oh, that's the worst news ever.
Something to think
when did
about.
you get this information?
I
When did
actually
you get
just found it this morning
That's
as
the
I was
worst news
finalizing
ever.
the notes.
I have to call
for the show, yeah.
Valina. All right.
Yeah. So anyway, as it sits right now, without the 874-unit housing development, could you live there?
Oh, 100%.
I could live there too. In fact, I want to live there. I think it's my favorite place that we've been so far.
Aw.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's number one on the list for me.
Well, we just have to make it work. Honestly, now it's like, okay, let's do 30 days there, and there better be some darn inventory.
Fingers crossed. I think we're in good shape.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Empty nest, full tank.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.